Yes, the connection. Okay, I think we have. Oh, welcome to Wild the podcast, where we love having inspiring, uplifting, empowering conversations live on air. Wild the podcast airs live on Just TV, Meta TV, 24/7 Roku TV, NCG Television Network, JessFM.ca, and SHH 101.ca. Wild the podcast is sponsored by Wild the Nonprofit, Wild Press, and Wild Homes and Gardens magazine. I'm your host, Diana Kouprina, and this evening our guest is the remarkably talented Lisa Moore. Lisa is a professional astrologer with a monthly astrology feature column in Optimize magazine. So without further ado, I want to welcome Lisa Moore to the show. Lisa, I'm so grateful for you to be on Wild the podcast.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to get to have a conversation with you.
So I guess just to begin, I'm going to let you kind of introduce yourself because I'm personally also so curious of how you got started. How did you know that this is the path I'm going to take and I'm going to study it and you really studied it?
Yeah, I took it seriously. I think that it started, I think you talk to most astrologers and say, when I was a child, like I was always fascinated, and it's true, fascinated by the skies. I loved looking up at the stars. And then you kind of grow up and you forget about it sometimes a little bit. Some people don't, but I did. And then from there, later in life, I felt like I had kind of, as a young adult, I had done everything that I was supposed to do,
Mm-hmm.
but I felt like there was a storyline missing, something, I don't know. So I was introduced to astrology by a friend of mine. I was teaching Pilates at the time. I've been a Pilates teacher for over 20 years at this point now. And it just grabbed me. And they say that, like, um, you find astrology, astrology finds you. And it found me.
That's beautiful. And then you studied, you went in depth in college with it, yes?
I actually, as an adult, I started with somebody here in the States. Her name is Deborah Silverman Astrology, and she had just started her school. And it was great. It was really good, but it was a newer school at the time. She's much more established now. But when I was talking to, I have my every, it's like a therapist who goes to a therapist. Astrologers have astrologers because we can't look at our own charts unbiased. It's
Oh,
impossible.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, think about it. Like you couldn't therapize yourself, right?
No, no, that would be.
Like I'll know what's coming up, and you're like, oh, but you're like, oh, and that's the other part of it. And this is where we get a little bit into the woo of astrology,
Hmm.
because I do want to, but it is, there is a lot of, factual mathematics based into it, but there's a component that does ask us to use our intuition and to use, information that we glean from, whatever resources we can tap into. So anyway, then my astrologer, who actually is a Vedic astrologer, which is more Eastern type astrology, I do Western predominantly. He said, you need to study with the Faculty of Astrological Studies in London. They're very prestigious. And I said, okay, and, that's what I did. And I started there. And from there, it just became, oh God, like an obsession. So I studied with them for several years. And then through them, one of their original people, is a very well-known astrologer, Liz Green, had started her own school of psychological astrology, but she had retired and handed it over to, funnily enough, a student named John Green. So I studied them, MISPA, the Psychological Astrology, I have my certificate there. And also then studied with the School for Traditional Astrology, which is a really wonderful, it's called Horary Astrology. So you can basically kind of ask the chart a question and it will
Oh,
answer you.
oh, really?
Yeah, it's interesting. People have asked, like, I lost my keys. What, where do you think they can be? And you can actually run a chart. For when the astrologer understands the question, they run a chart and they read the chart in a certain way.
I,
So
I
you
need
can
that.
ask.
I need to speak to the chart. How do I do that?
We could, if if it's like you were going for a job interview, that's the type of question for a horary. Like, do you, well, how do my prospects look for this job interview? And that would be a question we could answer.
Okay, so for our viewers who
Mhm.
are new to astrology, just like me, can you bring us to the basics of astrology?
Sure. Okay, so we'll start easy and basic. Your
Yeah,
natal
yeah.
chart. Okay, so the natal chart is the easiest way to describe it is a snapshot of the sky where the planets are at the moment that you're born. And that stays static, so it's a snapshot. But I always think of it as a living, breathing snapshot because it has the energy of the moment that you came here to live this particular life.
Hmm.
And those placements are very important because that forms the foundation for who you are and the energies that you came in with and how you can express them in this life. And every placement we have, the chart has the houses, the signs, and the planets. So it's like building a layer cake. So you have the houses, and then you have the signs to go to the houses, and then you have the planets in the houses and signs. So it's a very simple way of kind of looking at it. And the best way to know astrology is to learn your own birth chart. Is That's the first way. If
Hmm.
anybody's really interested in learning it, I always say know your birth chart, like really study from that because you will be able then to kind of go from there once you know yourself. And it's that old Greek philosopher saying, like, know thyself. To me, it's been the best tool to get to know who I am and all the lovely parts and all the little bit of, like, maybe sharper edges that, you
Yeah.
need to kind of work on or work with. So,
Um, so for anyone who's interested, how would you say you can create the chart or
yeah, it's
even,
very simple. There's so many free online resources for this. I would, the one I go to, and that's one of the best ones. Actually, Liz Green is one of the owners of it, is called astro.com, one of the creators. So if you just type in astro.com and it comes up and then you can run your own free birth chart, you need your birth date, your birth time, and your birthplace. And if you don't have your birth time, because I hear this a lot, you can always get a copy of your birth certificate if your city, town, whatever kept it, or the hospital records from when you were born.
mhm,
So, because it's kind of important, it sets the houses in a chart and it gives the areas of life that the planet live in for you. And as now, what's happening in the sky is that the planets are moving as the moon, we go from new to quarter to full.
yeah,
That's a transit. So
okay,
that's a movement. So your natal chart is one thing, and then the transits kind of come around, and it's like playing, I would like music, like a symphony. Like it's like it comes in and it hits the note here in your chart, and then it hits the note here, and so it creates some type of vibration that you get to work with.
how do you, okay, now I'm just gonna expand a little bit more. Now I'm curious. So you can do personal, but then you can also know what's
Mhm.
kind of going on for everyone else.
Absolutely right. Know thyself, and that's a
Yeah.
great way to start is to know your chart and get a little bit of a foundation into how your placements kind of work for you. And then it's what's going on in the moment. Yeah, we,
Mhm.
we can go down a whole rabbit hole here because there's a lot. Is called the transits or
Okay.
a transit chart. And we would run that with your natal chart and then see kind of what's going on. And then there's a whole nother thing called progressions, which is kind of, some people look at it as psychological and some people look at it as could be also event driven, like a
Hmm.
transit. It depends. I read it both ways. It kind of depends on what's going on in the natal and transits. But these big shifts coming, like when you're having, I think we were talking about this when you and I was speaking, a progressed full moon, right?
Okay.
It's like
Yeah.
that's big. Like that's a big, moment where things are going to kind of shift and change and be illuminated, a full moon. But like it's a moment of completion somehow. So there's a lot of different aspects. This is why it's really important to you know find yourself an astrologer that you jive with, and nobody should scare you, and nobody
Hmm.
should tell you horrible things. They can hint at something, but nobody should really, they're there. We should be there to support you. And ethics are a big huge problem, because when astrology started to become much more, um, during COVID it exploded, you know um, in lockdowns and stuff, and it became much more in the zeitgeist, so to speak. There's a lot of really great astrologists, so many of them. And this is not a judgment call, but there are a lot of people who, I don't like the shocking headlines.
Hmm.
Like they'll do something to get, and I think that, oh my gosh, life is hard enough. Do we really need to be traumatized by the astrology?
You're right. That
I mean, we're kind of getting that done on a daily basis anyway. We don't need anybody to add to that.
no, well, I loved how you read my chart. I know you did it. I so appreciate it.
Oh,
You're
you're welcome.
amazing. And I remember saying that this was like the best therapy session because you knew things that usually I would have to explain in depth in therapy. With you, it was just kind of like, oh, so what is this? Because this has been here and this looks like this figure. So, and to me, it was just, oh, instant connection. Like, wow, you already know. I don't have to tell you a full, full biography of like how it started.
It is really, really great. And there are some wonderful therapists. I mean, that's why I studied psychological astrology. I am not a therapist, but I can, work with a client in a very supportive way, in a non-confrontational way, in a hopefully triggering way.
Hmm.
That's my goal, is to see you. And that's ultimately it, is it's so validating to be seen for who we feel we are.
Yeah. Oh,
And
absolutely.
so important.
It has healing powers. Just that
It's
validation
absolutely.
to
And
be
that's
seen.
yeah, that's one of the things I loved about it so much too. Definitely.
So I'm wondering, and I've been wondering this, and I'm sure our audience is also wondering. So what about what's in the stars right now? What are the stars telling us?
Oh
I know
man,
there's a lot, but
there
uh,
is a lot. I know. When I submitted my June column to optimize, I was like, I had to. I hope she didn't edit. I had to go like a couple words over 700, because it was just like I was like, oh my god, how am I going to jam all this in?
mhm,
And July is just as jam packed. Yes, I've been looking at this particular time period, as a lot of astrologers have, for me since at least 2019.
oh wow,
So yes, because we are having a huge collective shift of energy, and it started within the past year. Just, I'm not going to give exact dates at this point, but 2025 was like, we were kind of still fit, like in this part of it, and 2026 was like, you know
yeah,
you
yeah,
can feel it. So we had an outer planet shift where we're going from, if you think of elements, we have fire, earth, air, and water. That's how we look at a chart
mhm,
too. Elements, what's your elemental makeup? So we're going from an era of earth and water. So think of those elements. Earth and water are very soft and gentle, and well, they can be, and they earth doesn't move very much. Obviously, there can be earthquakes, but it's a much more um, feminine energy. And I'm not talking male or female. I'm talking just energetically, archetypes.
mhm,
But then we go now. We have most of the outer planets in fire and air, and that is a very different feel. And that's why, I don't know, most people I've spoken to feel like 2026 has been like we've all been shot out of a cannon.
yeah, a little bit, yeah,
Yeah, it's, and think
yeah,
about it. Air is mental stimulation.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of this, there's a lot of voices,
Oh, so much.
and
I definitely feel that one. I have a lot
a
happening
lot
in
of
my brain.
anxiety
Yes.
can rise to the surface with a lot of mental activity. Uranus, which is an outer planet, went into Gemini just recently, and that's, that can be like an electric current running, you know
Hmm.
constant thought. It's almost like one of those ticker tapes constantly running through your brain, or across the bottom of a screen. And then we have, at the end of June, is going to be the cap of the planet moving. Jupiter's moving from Cancer into Leo. So again, from water, Cancer water sign, into Leo fire sign. So then five, two social, three outer planets are all going to be in fire and air. So it's going to continue to speed up, and
Yeah.
we're pretty much on track. I mean, I'm not surprised. Like, everybody's like, God, can you believe it? I'm like, yeah, I can.
So you've been
Because,
able to kind of predict all of this if
yeah,
since like 2019.
well, yeah, you're watching the shift happen. In early 2021 was the beginning of the shift from Earth, um, to air. So there are what we call conjunctions, where two planets meet and, like, kind of hold hands for a second, and they make a plan. So every time planets come together, or bodies, because there's a lot of bodies, come together like this, it's a new cycle. So it's beginning a new cycle. And then they kind of give each other some information, come up with a plan, and then they go on their way, because they all do travel at different rates in the sky, or around the zodiac.
How long does the cycle last? Is there like a pattern of each
It
cycle?
depends, right? Like, we just had Saturn and Neptune go into Aries together, which is rare. It's very rare. At the 0 degree, let's put it this way, at the 0 degree mark of Aries, it's been like 4,000 years since that ever happened.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah.
Oh,
so,
wow. What does that
so
even mean?
that
What was
means
even happening 4,000 years
we can
ago?
we can go that's what I mean. It's like we can go down into layers, and there's something in astrology called a draconic chart, which is everybody's chart. If you run it with a 0 degree area as the rising sign, it's like the new beginning, because Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's the I am it's referred to. um, and so we're starting a new, like, 36-year cycle in the Aries ch- house of our chart. So if you know where Aries is in your chart, you would look at that house and you'd be like, oh, I've just started, there's a new energy there that's going to play out over a 36-year period.
That's also a very long time.
It's a very long time. Jupiter will spend, we were just talking about, Jupiter spends 1 year basically in every sign. So he's going to finish up in Cancer, and then at the end of June, and then enter Leo for a year. So everybody gets Jupiter around their chart, in a house, one house every year, basically. So that's a different cycle. So those are shorter. So the moon moves the quickest, changes signs every approximately 2.5 days. So we find how we feel a little bit better on certain days. You
Hmm.
learn those, where it is in your chart and how it feels for you. Like, when the moon is in Pisces, that's a little bit tough for me. It's my eighth house.
Okay.
That's not an easy placement for me. Even though Pisces is a lovely sign and a great moon and feels really yummy for people, for me it's a little more challenging. So then we have the sun that moves basically a 1 degree every day. So 30 days it goes through one sign per month, and that's the year, the solar year, right? And then we have Mercury, and he goes around. He's pretty quick. He goes around, and depends. He has retrogrades and stuff, so it all depends on where the retrogrades are, but usually in a year. And then we have Venus, and we have Mars. So those are all personal planets. They're personal to you. Those are the ones that when they're getting a transit to them, like a planet now in time is hitting them, that can be pretty impactful for you, for each individual. Then we have what are called the social planets, which are Jupiter and Saturn. And we call them social because it's like when you go to school, the children in your grade are usually around like that kind of age. It's like that social peer group.
Mm-hmm.
Jupiter's every year. Saturn changes signs about every 2.5 years. So if you were in grammar school or high school with somebody, you'd be in that group, right? You think of it
Right.
kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
so your social circle, kind of, for a rough thing. And then we have the outer planets, which are much more generational. So that's Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto.
Okay.
And so we had all of that, the last five, and especially the last four, Saturn through Pluto, have changed signs over pretty much over the last year or so, and more of them more recently. So it's a lot of energy to have to. We are energetic bodies,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
We have an electromagnetic field, which it's kind of like so it's a lot for us to kind of ride the waves of.
So, what? How would you advise people to kind of cope with all the energy that's happening? Like, what?
Well, it's not just you. First of all, know that. Um, know that what is being stimulated is not always something that needs to be quickly acted upon because it's going to feel immediate and it's going to feel very now or never kind of feeling because it's going to feel so fast. um, but you can pause. I think meditation, I know it's so hard for some people, so it doesn't have to be, sitting there for 20 minutes and doing it, a walking meditation,
Mm-hmm.
that left right movement of your legs moving the body is very soothing to the nervous system. So, as always, I know everybody says this, but it's so true. Like, go out in nature, put your feet on the ground. You're looking for grounding things. You're looking to take a bath, get that into the water, because if the elements are really heavy into air and fire, you need to counter that with some earth and water. So that would be my advice. And, really, I think everybody should know their chart. And you can Google some things. I'm not, completely against, what's to find out on your own.
Mm-hmm.
But my advice is always like, at least get one good chart reading. So you
Yeah.
can have somebody reflect to you, because as the astrologer, before I see any client, I always ask to be, for me, to be the conduit to give them the information they know at this particular point in time.
Mm-hmm. No, I
So,
mean, I've never had anyone really like a professional ever read my chart. And so when you did it, it just brings me back to how amazing it was. And I was just in awe with it. And,
oh,
you called all of it just kind of, and then of course, and then I left feeling very hopeful.
oh,
Um, and I think that's so important, especially when people are going through such a hard time right now.
yes, and that's the other thing. And I think we had discussed this, and I really want to kind of hammer this home to everybody. And I say this to anyone who will listen to me, is we are living through a time where two very different things can exist in the same place at the same time. So it could, well, the world may appear to be insane and
Mm-hmm.
it is chaotic because chaos precedes big shift of consciousness. There has to be chaos to disrupt the status quo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, as hard as that is to watch, it doesn't mean that we can't find the positive things to live out in our daily lives. It's okay to enjoy our own personal lives and be thankful for what we do have and that is going well. So it's going to be really important to maintain that dual perspective.
So where are we, would you say, headed right now? There's so much that's happening. People are struggling. What is are we headed in at least somewhat positive direction?
Well, that's where it becomes, it's just like the placements in a chart. We're born with placements,
Mm-hmm.
transits happen, but we all have the free will to make the decision of how we want to engage with the energy, how we want to live out our placements, right? And so that's how we shape the future, is to, that new cycle in Aries is the I am. And I was talking about this with Amy today, actually. And, you know, you keep hearing like, we are the ones we've been waiting for,
Mm-hmm.
right? We can no longer farm out and give away our power and our authority, expecting other people to take care of us in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of ways. We have to be, you know, and I think the 250th, anniversary of this country is a really good example. We have to act like grown-ups now,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You all need to take responsibility for our stuff. And, listen, I'm not perfect. I'm okay with that. It took me a long time to kind of get that. I was kind of, my own mentality. I don't know if it's nature or nurture. I had a really bad perfectionist, you
Yeah.
know, issue going on, really bad. And I'm not perfect. And I've made mistakes. And that's okay, you know?
Yeah. That was a hard pill for me to swallow. I'm also a perfectionist, and it was such a long battle where, then I just go downhill, because if I'm not perfect, then I'm nothing.
Right. It's like an all or not. Yeah.
It's an all or nothing.
And
If
it's so
if
hard
it's not
because,
perfection, then it doesn't matter.
right, right. But, and I know you and I know this very well, because the greatest lessons, and the biggest growth come from the things that aren't, that, didn't work out perfectly,
Mm-hmm.
or that were in some cases, really big losses or tough circumstances,
Yeah.
right? And it create we I saw something, I think it was a post today, I can't remember who posted it, but it's like everybody has really, nobody gets out of this life without some type of trauma.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but it's just part of being here in this human existence. um, but we do get to decide what we do with that trauma. Do we get to, work through it and either live it out and, take it out on people in a negative way,
Mm-hmm.
or do we live with it, integrate it, and then say, how can I do some good with this?
Yeah.
Where can I be helpful? Where can I be of service?
That's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Like, it's not been, not nobody that I know has had an easy, at least last few years, if not the last decade, leading
Oh,
up
yeah.
into this chaotic nowadays. And it will get better if but we are each responsible to make that choice to make it better.
Yeah.
It's not going to be somebody else doing it for us. And
Yeah.
that's what I like about the psychological astrology. We all have triggers that we kind of come in with, or put there somehow, or whatever. And they really don't go away. We just learn to respond to them in a better way, or, instead of react, you respond.
Yeah.
Different feel.
Yeah. Different. It is a different feel. It's hard to get to those points. That's, I think, the hardest part, because sometimes it's easier to just kind of react, especially if you're feeling everything built up, all this energy, without a release. And it's just the
It's hard.
reaction comes.
Yeah, it's hard, and especially when, you know people react because they've been hurt, right? It's usually a defense mechanism,
Mm-hmm.
usually,
Yeah.
right? I don't think, for all that we see in the world, I don't think we're really, most of us are bad people. I don't believe that at all. I think most of us are really, really good people that, don't understand that it's okay to not be perfect.
Yeah.
It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to say you're sorry. you know,
Yeah.
That's all
That's a
okay.
really big one too, saying you're
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, taking responsibility, you know?
Yeah.
It's and that's it. Once you can own your chart and you can say, well, yeah, I can see where in the past I would lash out at
Mhm.
somebody if I was, feeling hurt or, what a perceived attack is, because we all have different communication styles too. So
Yeah.
that's the other thing. It's learning, that's your Mercury in your chart, how you hear things and how you filter that information, and then
Is
how you
also uniquely to the individual that's having their chart read.
yes, yes. And where they're most, comfortable, where they're most sensitive to it. And that's the moon. Like, how do I feel? Whereas that is your innermost emotional responses. You know, in astrology, the moon also represents, I know you and I are both moms, right? Represents mothering, the
Hmm.
mother in a chart. In a mundane chart, like if I was running a horary chart or the chart of the United States, it represents the people of that
Hmm.
country. So it depends on what we're talking about. But personally, it's our innermost needs and nurturance, what we need to feel loved and cared for. And that's different for everyone.
Oh yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
But when you know what that is, you can be like, oh, that's what I need. That's why I need it. Not because I'm crazy, but or like I'm wrong, but
Yeah.
because how I feel cared for
Yeah.
when someone does XYZ, right?
Hmm.
Whereas somebody else might be like, oh, I don't like that at all. That is so not like my thing. I don't want anybody to pay attention to me too much, right?
Hmm.
And that's what they need. And then, that right there, you have a very different thing. And
Yeah.
then imagine trying to communicate to like a partner, a loved one, and you have, there are so many times where I used to say to my husband, you know, wait, tell me, repeat back to me what you heard me say, what you think I
Hmm.
said, because the filter that we hear things through is different.
Yeah. And that's also
And
reaction comes in. If you're prepared that if you're already in your mindset that this person is going to come in, let's say even on attack mode, or I already kind of feel their energies off, it's you just kind of go into that.
yeah, yeah, it kind of yeah, like you go into like, oh yeah, you like kind of go up to
Like I
that
already
level.
feel this energy, so it kind of shifts it. Like I know for me, that's how like I can feel if the energy is off.
Yeah,
I used to always kind of have this reaction to it. Like I'm already prepared for this off thing that's going to occur, and
right.
that's already I'm in that reactive mode instead of sitting back and saying, "Wait a sec, okay, maybe it is. That's okay. That's their
Right.
energy. That's okay."
Right, and it's just like anything, like an emotion or an energetic wave or whatever. It will crest and it will fall and it will go. It will float away eventually. That was one of the hardest things for me to learn. Like instead of like pushing it away and like and talking about like I think about that Friends episode where Monica would put all the stuff in the closet
Oh yeah.
and you never knew. And then one day, like the closet would like, got sprung open. Like if you do that to your, for emotions, you
Hmm.
can't do that because eventually that's when you react because you're like, well, I'm not going to say anything right now because we're having such a nice night, or I'm not going to say anything right now and I don't want to ruin the vacation or whatever it is, right?
Or I
But
need
there
some
are
more time before
right,
I finally make that decision, or I need,
but there's
I'm not
never
ready. I'm not ready to deal with it. So I'm just
right,
gonna have these, and then reaction comes out, right?
right. That's it. When it's
Because
not
you're
like
holding all this in, and then you just,
right, or you're trying to curate like a particular atmosphere for this, conversation to occur. That's not normally how most conversations, you can. I mean, I'm not saying that it's never works that way. I mean, and I know people who have done, had some really good sit down conversations, but most daily interactions are not that way.
yeah.
You're on the fly. It's taking
Hmm.
your kids to an after school activity or, you know, your partner or whatever passing as you're, making dinner, whatever. I think with friends, it's different because, especially as women, we tend to um, want to be really more present and and kind of hold that space
Mm-hmm.
for our sister friends, so to speak,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Okay. Well, last remarks.
Okay. Last remarks. Oh my
Any
goodness.
last remarks or any words of wisdom as we move and progress further?
Oh, it's going to be a very active July. June, I think, is that, like I said, living two different things in the same. Really take advantage of living your best time in June. The astrology is lovely. We have Venus and Jupiter in Cancer come together on June 9th. So early June is kind of colored with that beautiful thing. We have two known as benefics. That's beautiful. We have the new moon in Gemini, which is very kind of conversational, friendly, kind of community oriented moon. And then we have the summer solstice is going to be on the 21st when the sun enters the sign of Cancer.
Ooh.
So that's a wonderful, it's the longest day of the year, the most sunlight. So I would say, like make hay while the sun shines during this month of June. July, I think, personally, all of these events are going to play out much differently than it's going to be out in the world. July is very busy,
Mm-hmm.
um, a lot, and all that air and fire, and there's a lot of there's just a lot of energy. When you think of air and fire, it's just not as stable as earth and water.
Yeah.
So I think July is going to be a little bit of a rock and roll month out in the world. Like I said, different for you personally. It doesn't have to be like that. I think then it we get a little bit of a reprieve. And I think then, and this shouldn't be any surprise, I think November then becomes another point. It's interesting to watch how the events, the US chart on its own is lit up like a Christmas tree. There's just, we've just come out of a Pluto return. We have a Uranus return now. It's just, we're lit up. Like their natal chart is lit up. So we're going to see a lot of change. And we have to remember, you know, we are the ones who need to make sure that things go the way we would like them to go. We have, I don't think it's helpful to get drawn into um, negative conversations. And I don't want to get into any particular thing, but like it's easier if we're divided
Mm-hmm.
for people to get things done if we're just bickering amongst ourselves. So I think we have to work really hard at understanding that people are going to have different outlooks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's going to be, and I think, and I know I can find that difficult myself. I'm not saying it's easy.
No, but maybe it's the time. That's how we grow in understanding, right? That's how
Yeah,
we're ultimately, if we hear the other side and truly hear them, as you said, without that,
right.
um,
But it has to be two people from different backgrounds having the same amount of desire to be heard. And
yeah,
sometimes it takes, something else to make that happen. I don't know. We'll see.
we'll see.
It's a rock and roll year. We were 2026, I don't, we forecast, as they say, one of my favorite astrologers said, he forecasts, we don't predict. Predictions are like, you can kind of, but forecasting is, you have a little bit more latitude in things.
Yeah. Well, plus there's free will, right? So that will.
Well, that's it. Really just pay attention to what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
This you can control. This you
Yeah,
have domain over. And it's so important.
it is so important.
Yeah,
And we can
because
end
we
with
have,
that because that is so important. Lisa, thank you so much. I had a lot of fun chatting with you. I always do.
I know.
And you're amazing. So if anyone's looking for an astrologer, go see Lisa Moore. And on that note, how can people find you if they're listening and they're like, yes, this clicked for me. I want to know more.
They can go to my website. It's lisamooreastrology.com. You can DM me. I'm on Instagram under that and Facebook.
And
So,
we'll share once the episode is, we'll
oh,
share the recording. Yeah, and then
that's
I'll
great.
make sure to post all the links.
Yeah,
So
no
we'll
problem.
make sure they're everywhere and so
Yeah,
people
that's
can
it's
find
kind of,
you.
yeah. They'll find me, and thank you so much. I love talking to you. I love
Oh
spending.
no, you're welcome back anytime. I love you.
I love you.
I want to dive in even more, you know.
We can. We totally can. I love that. This is what I live for.
Amazing. So we'll definitely plan on having you back.
Okay.
Um, and for anyone that's been listening, thank you for tuning in. I would say just fill yourselves with so much love that it spills onto others.
Oh,
Everyone around you, just fill it up and let it flow. Um, and thank you for tuning in to Wild the Podcast. Have a great evening. Thank you. Bye.